My best friend was like, hey, there's this new show on HBO. You should watch it. You would like it. And I said, okay. And then I watched like the first 2 episodes with her, bought the first season, and spent a weekend locked in my room watching the show.
It's kind of interesting because there's really only 4 or 5 things in the first season that are different from the book. Maybe they added a character or changed a couple scenes, added in stuff, but for the most part, everything that was in the first book is in the season. So, I mean, I like books because I like reading and I like to visualize things myself, but when I watched the first season, it was the first time I've ever had any kind of show or movie really correlate with the book as well as it did. And everything that I visualized reading the book is displayed in the TV show.
I like the characters, I like the relationships, I like that nobody is ever really safe. There's always, I think you develop a love for your characters. I mean, you see that with Martin's writing. He loves his characters, but he's not afraid to off them in an effort to really push the story. And he's admitted to that. He'll just flat out kill a character if he thinks it's going to heighten the tension and the plot. It's all about politics. It's reflective of what's been going on in world history for thousands of years. Somebody wants the power, so they off the guy who has the power, and then suddenly it's a free-for-all and everybody's scrambling for the throne. And it's all about who thinks who deserves it the most.
Kind of depends on who you're talking to. Some people don't really have the time to read books, so I would definitely recommend watching a TV show to get into it, especially with the quality it is and how much time and money that they put into the show. But if you have the time, definitely read the books. Highly recommend them. Really great read. It's hard to get into at first because it's really descriptive. It's kind of in the writing style of like The Hobbit, whatnot. So it's really, really descriptive, sets up your scenes really well, but it does take you a long time. I think each book's 700 to 800 pages, if not more or less, you know, give or take. So it'll take you a good while to read them, but yeah, definitely, if you have the time, I definitely recommend read the books.
I think the approach to it, I mean, the characters are all very diverse, and they all come together in a very interesting way. It's never quite what it seems.
It's definitely more adult-oriented, very realistic in the way that it's just very blunt. It doesn't sugarcoat anything in the book. I mean, it's all about war, it's all about the fighting and the dueling, and I mean, it's just not, I just want to re-emphasize, it does not sugarcoat anything. It's very, very adult-oriented, to say the least.
It's all one big book to me. It's just he picks up right where he left off, because he writes it at different times in different places, and some of them could be a room away from each other and some of them could be thousands of miles from each other, but it's all pushing toward the same goal. It's the same pipeline that everybody is trying to get through to get to that throne. So it's all just one big ongoing story. He can't just stick it all in one book because it would never really be over, so he has to break it up.
Yeah, I think so. It's refreshing because you know that's exactly how it was. Aside from the fantasy part, that's exactly how it was in the Middle Ages. That's how life is. So it's refreshing because it's not done distastefully. It's done really well. There's not too much of it, but there's just enough to keep the storyline pretty interesting and realistic.
I think the books, they show more about the character relationships, but the show brings it to life. Martin's a very descriptive writer. You really see everything, but to really see the characters moving and to see the costuming, it puts a whole new perspective on it, because the show is very true to the books, but because it's television, so many details have to be left out. So many plot points fall by the wayside. And if you read the books, it picks up all the little odds and ends that are never really apparent.
Season 3 kind of left off with a huge cliffhanger. Really changed the storyline, and I'm excited to see where they're going to take it. A lot of characters that have been in the show up at this point are no longer going to be in the show anymore. So I'm really excited to see where the creators and the whole team kind of goes with the whole show for season 4.